Hey, before we dive in, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that bell icon so you never miss a single upload. Because trust me, you do not want to miss where this topic is going. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the most dangerous mind in the entire shinobi world, a man who dissected living bodies, who sacrificed hundreds of test subjects without flinching, who was so consumed by the pursuit of immortality that he forgot what it meant to actually live, made one single different choice on the worst night in Konoha's history? Not because someone stopped him, not because he was defeated, not because the world forced his hand, but because a dying woman handed him a promise he made years ago when he was still human. And in that one shattered moment, standing in the ruins of a burning village, holding a screaming infant with the chakra signature that should not exist on this planet, he chose to keep it. Honestly, let me tell you right now, you are not ready for what this chapter becomes, because this isn't just the story of Naruto getting a better childhood. This is the story of a genius who almost became a monster, deciding at the last possible second to become a father instead. And the shinobi world will never, and I mean never, recover from that decision. So buckle in, let's go. The night everything burned. October 10th. The sky above Konoha is on fire. Now, you already know what happened that night in canon. You know about the Kyuubi attack, about Minato's sacrifice, about Kushina pouring the last of her chakra into a seal that cost her everything. You know the story. You've seen it 100 times. But here's what you didn't see. Here's what the history books don't tell you. 40 meters below the burning streets of Konoha, in a laboratory so well hidden that not even the Anbu Root Division knew it existed, Orochimaru was working. Picture it. Rows of preservation tanks lining the walls, scrolls stacked ceiling high, the faint blue glow of chakra-reactive instruments humming in the dark. This is the version of Orochimaru that people forget existed. Not the villain with the cursed marks and the snake summoning and the body-hopping immortality obsession. Not yet. This is before all of that fully consumed him. This is the Orochimaru who was still, just barely, by the thinnest possible thread, the third Hokage's most brilliant student, the prodigy, the legend, the man who could have been anything. He's running a late experiment on chakra network resonance patterns because Orochimaru genuinely does not sleep like a normal human being when the ceiling caves in. Not from the Kyuubi attack directly, from the shockwave of it. Dust and stone rain down around him as he shields his equipment with a water release barrier, completely unfazed. He's worked through Konoha crises before. And that's when he sees it. A body. Anbu uniform. Crumpled on the laboratory floor, clearly having fallen through a stress fracture in the underground passage above. Moving. Barely. Orochimaru crosses the room in 3 steps. He kneels beside the Anbu, and here is where everything hinges on a single moment. Because the old Orochimaru, the one who's already halfway down the dark path, would have checked the Anbu for useful intelligence, found nothing personally relevant, and gone back to his experiment. But this Orochimaru sees the Anbu hand extended, clutching something, a sealed scroll, and on the outside of that scroll, in handwriting he recognizes instantly, the slanted, rushed, characteristically blunt penmanship of a woman who never had any patience for formal calligraphy, Uzumaki Kushina. He stares at a long moment. The Anbu exhales once, heavily, and goes still. Orochimaru takes the scroll. The letter. Now, you might be wondering, what could Kushina possibly have written to Orochimaru? What connection did they even have? Because in canon, their paths barely crossed. And hey, before you say there's no way these two had any kind of meaningful history, just hold on. Because this is the part that the story has been hiding from you, the part that recontextualizes everything. Fast forward, we're going back first. 7 years before the Kyuubi attack, Naruto doesn't exist yet. Minato and Kushina are together, but not yet married, and Kushina, who has been carrying Kurama inside her since she was a child, is having one of her bad weeks, the weeks where the seal fluctuates, where Kurama presses against the barriers with the full weight of a creature that hates everything about its imprisonment, where Kushina has to find somewhere private to stabilize, because if she doesn't, the chakra leaks could alert every sensor in the village. The place she finds, because she knows every hidden corner of Konoha better than anyone, happens to be the access tunnel above Orochimaru's laboratory. She falls through the ceiling. Yes, the same ceiling. It's apparently a structural issue. And Orochimaru, who was working late that night too, finds himself looking at a furious red-haired woman sitting in the rubble of his ceiling, containing a chakra leak with one hand and glaring at him with the intensity of someone who is deeply embarrassed and dealing with it by being aggressive about it. The conversation that follows is, by any measure, ridiculous. Kushina refuses to leave until she's stabilized. Orochimaru refuses to stop working. They end up working in parallel silence for 4 hours. And then, because Kushina has never in her life been able to maintain silence for more than 40 consecutive minutes, she starts talking. She talks about what it's like to carry Kurama, the loneliness of it, the weight of being something that frightens people even when you're doing everything right. The way the village smiles at you while keeping a careful distance, because you're valuable, but you're also dangerous, and those two things can't quite coexist comfortably in anyone's mind. And Orochimaru, who has spent his entire adult life being the genius that everyone respects, and nobody truly knows, the prodigy who understands everything about the world except how to simply be in it, listens, with the kind of attention he usually reserves for research subjects. Except this time, it's different, because she's not describing something foreign to him. She's describing exactly what he feels in completely different words about a completely different situation. He doesn't say that. This is Orochimaru. He says, "The village's discomfort with power it cannot control is a sociological constant. It's not personal." And Kushina, who is very perceptive when she wants to be, looks at him and says, "That's what you tell yourself when it hurts, isn't it?" It's not a question. He doesn't answer it. But she keeps coming back. Not every week, not even every month, just occasionally when she needs somewhere the sensors won't detect the leak. And every time, the silence gets slightly less tense, and the talking gets slightly more real. She never tells Minato. He never tells anyone. And one evening, 2 years before the Kyuubi attack, when the seal is particularly unstable and she's genuinely frightened, not of Kurama, but of what happens to her child if she doesn't make it through a difficult birth someday, she says it, the thing she's been building toward without knowing it. If something happens to me, if there's ever a moment where my child is truly alone, truly in danger of becoming something the world will just use and discard, I need to know someone will find him, someone who understands what it means to have power that terrifies everyone around you. Orochimaru is quiet for a very long time. He says, finally, "You're asking me because you think I would understand him." Kushina says, "I'm asking you because you're the only person I know who almost became a monster and hasn't yet, and I think that matters." He agrees, because she's the only person who's ever made the distinction out loud, the hasn't yet, like it's still a choice, like the door is still open. The letter in the scroll, the one he's reading now, kneeling beside a dead Anbu messenger with Konoha burning overhead, is Kushina calling in that promise 4 years early, on the worst night of her life and the last of it. The letter is exactly what you'd expect from her, blunt, warm, completely uninterested in formal language. "Orochimaru, if you're reading this, then it happened and I'm gone and I'm furious about it. But that's not the point. The point is his name is Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto. He has his father's ridiculous hair and my stubbornness, and he's carrying something inside him that the village will either worship or destroy, depending on the day, and I am not going to let either of those things happen to my son. Find him. Protect him. Don't experiment on him. I mean it. I will haunt you specifically for that. And Orochimaru, don't let him become what you almost became. He deserves better than that. So do you. Kushina. P.S. I taught him to make ramen already. The instructions are on the back. Don't feed him snakes. Orochimaru reads the letter twice. Then he stands up, brushes the dust off his robes, picks up a travel pack that's always ready by the door, because he is always prepared to move, and walks toward the emergency tunnel to the surface. He has a child to find. The village in chaos. Above ground, Konoha is devastation in motion. The Kyuubi attack has just ended. Minato's sealing is complete. The Nine Tails is contained. But the village doesn't know any of that yet. What they know is that there are fires on 4 blocks, that the residential district near the eastern wall is rubble, and that there are shinobi running in every direction doing triage. Orochima moves through all of it like smoke. This is the man who wrote the book, literally there is an Anbu manual that draws from his infiltration techniques, on bypassing detection. He's passed 3 sensor arrays before the operators even know he was near them. He's through the Anbu perimeter around the scene of the sealing in under 2 minutes. And he finds the child on the edge of a clearing, wrapped in a seal cloth that Minato clearly prepared in advance, surrounded by 3 Anbu who are waiting for Hiruzen to arrive and make the official announcement. Naruto is screaming. Not from pain. From the pure, overwhelming chaos of being a newborn in a world that's been catastrophically loud for the first hour of his life. The Anbu are doing their best, which is to say they're standing at professional attention and looking deeply uncomfortable, because Anbu training does not cover this. Orochima watches from 30 meters away, concealed, and assesses the situation with the rapid clinical precision that makes him dangerous. Option 1. Leave. Walk away. The child will be placed in Hiruzen's care, announced as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and grow up in a village that will spend the next 12 years teaching him that he is valued less than the weapon inside him. Orochima has read enough human psychology to know exactly how that story ends. He's seen it play out in smaller forms a dozen times in his research. Option 2. Take the child by force. The Anbu are good. He's better. It would take approximately 4 seconds. But force means leaving evidence, means a hunt, means Naruto growing up constantly running. Option 3, and here is where this Orochima surprises even himself, because the old him would have stopped at option 2. Option 3 is patient and quiet, and doesn't rely on being stronger than everyone else. It relies on being smarter. He creates a snake clone, sends it toward the east wall where it triggers a minor chakra pulse that mimics a fleeing nin. The Anbu shift their attention for exactly the window he needs. He crosses the clearing. He lifts Naruto, gently, with the careful handling of someone who has never held an infant, but has read extensively about the fragility of newborn skeletal structure and is applying that knowledge very deliberately. And he steps sideways into a hidden passage in the stone wall that he built himself 3 years ago, precisely because he always planned for scenarios where he might need to move through the section of the village undetected. The Anbu turn back. The clearing is empty. The child is gone. And Orochimaru, pressing through a stone tunnel in the dark with a screaming infant against his chest and absolutely no idea what he's doing, thinks about Kushina's letter. Don't feed him snakes. The ramen instructions are on the back. He stops walking. He actually turns the scroll over. There are, in fact, detailed ramen instructions on the back, with annotations, with notes like, he likes it when the broth is slightly sweet, referring to a child who was born 4 hours ago and has not yet consumed anything except his own first breath. Kushina apparently planned for everything. Orochimaru folds the scroll very carefully and puts it in his inner pocket. He adjusts his hold on Naruto, who is still screaming, but slightly less, perhaps because the tunnel is quieter and the noise of the village is fading. He looks down at the infant. The infant looks up at him, and in the dim luminescence of the chakra-reactive stone, Orochimaru sees it for the first time. The signature. Now, Here is the moment. Here is the actual reason this story is different from every other Naruto gets a better parent scenario you've ever read. Because when Orochimaru runs his chakra sensing, the deep layer reading that goes beneath the surface signature, the technique he developed himself over 15 years of research to detect hidden bloodline markers and dormant Kekkei Genkai, what he finds underneath Kurama's vast, overwhelming chakra makes him go completely, utterly still. Kurama's signature is like a sun. Blinding, enormous, completely expected. But beneath it, far beneath it, in layers that predate not just Minato's sealing, but Kushina's entire lineage, in layers that Orochimaru recognizes because he has spent years researching the primordial chakra structures documented in the oldest forbidden texts. Something ancient pulses. Something that shouldn't be in a human body at all. Orochimaru has read every surviving document about Hagoromo Otsuki. He has studied in secret the fragmentary records about Kaguya herself, the rabbit alien, the progenitor, the being from whom all chakra in the world ultimately derives. He wrote a paper about it once, purely theoretical. He never published it because the implications were so staggering that releasing it would have caused a political crisis across all 5 nations. The paper concluded, among other things, that such an inheritance was technically possible, that if it ever manifested, it would manifest in someone carrying both exceptional Uzumaki vitality and a pre-existing Jinchuriki bond that could serve as the catalyst for activation. He told himself it was theoretical. He is holding the proof that it was not. Naruto Uzumaki, 4 hours old, currently chewing on his sleeve because infants do that, carries Kaguya's bloodline potential. Dormant, completely dormant, compressed under Kurama's chakra like a continent buried under an ocean. But there, real, present, waiting for the conditions that will allow it to unfold. Orochimaru stands in the tunnel for what is, by his own later account, approximately 3 full minutes. In those 3 minutes, he has approximately 47 thoughts in rapid succession. 46 of them are scientific, staggering in scope, about what this means, about what it could become, about the research value of... The 47th thought is Kushina's voice. Don't experiment on him. And then quieter underneath that, he deserves better than that. So do you. Orochimaru exhales slowly. He looks down at Naruto, who has stopped chewing on his sleeve and is now simply staring upward with the unfocused, enormous-eyed attention of a newborn encountering a face for the first time. I have, Orochimaru says, in the tone of someone making a significant statement to an empty tunnel and a 4-hour-old infant, absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Naruto makes a sound that is not quite a word and not quite not a word. However, Orochimaru continues, because once he starts analyzing a problem, he cannot stop until he's reached a conclusion, I am objectively the most qualified person on this continent to raise someone with a power set of this complexity. The alternative is a village that will either worship or destroy him. Your mother's phrasing. She was accurate. He starts walking again. My name is Orochimaru. You will address me as... Actually, we'll determine appropriate terminology later. For now, the priority is distance, shelter, and apparently ramen, according to your mother's extensively annotated instructions. Naruto grabs his finger. Orochimaru looks down at the small hand wrapped around his index finger with the grip strength of someone who inherited Uzumaki vitality and is already deploying it. He doesn't say anything else for a while. But he doesn't let go of the finger either. The night after. Fast forward 3 hours. The village is still in triage mode. Hiruzen has been informed of the child's disappearance. The Anbu search is already running. But Orochimaru is 4 kilometers outside Konoha's sensor range by the time the first tracking squad deploys, moving through forest terrain with the particular efficiency of someone who mapped every kilometer of these woods during his own Anbu service. He stops at a safe house, one of 6 he maintains in the greater land of fire, stocked with supplies because Orochimaru has always operated on the principle that emergency preparedness is simply intelligent self-interest. He lays Naruto on the prepared sleeping surface, which is a research sleeping bag because a crib is not part of the standard safe house inventory, a fact he notes clinically and adds to his mental list of things to acquire, and he sits back on his heels. He opens a new journal. He does this for every significant project. It's the beginning of every major endeavor in his life. New journal, first entry, date and classification. He writes the date, October 10th. He writes the classification, personal, maximum priority. He thinks for a moment about how to begin. Then he writes, subject, Uzumaki Naruto, day 1. He pauses, looks at Naruto, who is, against all reasonable expectation, given the night he's had, currently asleep. He cried for approximately 2 hours following extraction from the village. I attempted 4 separate solutions based on infant care documentation I memorized from the Konoha Hospital's pediatric research files 6 years ago. None of them worked. He stopped on his own when the ambient noise level dropped below a certain threshold. This suggests either sound sensitivity consistent with enhanced sensory inheritance or that he simply needed quiet. I cannot yet determine which. Further observation required. He pauses again. Then, at the bottom of the page, in slightly smaller writing, like he's not entirely sure he wants to record it, but his scientific commitment to honest documentation demands it. She was right that I would understand him. I don't know yet what to do with that. He closes the journal. He looks at the sleeping child, at the whisker marks on his cheeks, at the impossible brightness of his chakra signature even at rest, at the way his tiny hand is curled loosely in sleep like he's already reaching for something just beyond his grasp. And Orochimaru, the man who studied death because he was afraid of it, who pursued power because it was the only thing that made him feel real, who crossed every line the shinobi world had drawn because the lines felt arbitrary and the knowledge felt necessary, Orochimaru does something he hasn't done in a very long time. He stays. Not because the research demands it, not because the power potential makes the subject irreplaceable, not because he's calculating the angles. He stays because a woman who saw through every one of his defenses believed he was still capable of making a better choice than he'd been making, and Orochimaru has spent his entire life refusing to fail a hypothesis. Konoha, the same night. Hiruzen Sarutobi stands in the ruins of the clearing where Minato and Kushina made their sacrifice. He's old. He's tired in a way that goes deeper than muscle. And he's holding an Anbu report that says the child, the boy who was supposed to be protected, who was supposed to be the village's hero, who was supposed to survive the night that took his parents, is gone. No tracks, no chakra trail, nothing the sensor nin can follow. Whoever took him, the Anbu captain says quietly, is better than our best. Hiruzen dismisses the squad. He stands alone. He looks at the place where Minato sealed the Nine Tails into a child to save the village. He thinks about the weight of what was asked of that infant without the infant's consent, without any choice, without anything, except the love of 2 people who didn't survive the night. He thinks about what the village would have done with that child, how they would have looked at him, how they would have treated him. He knows his people, he loves them, and he knows exactly how fear works in a community, how it calculates itself against love every single time and usually wins. Maybe, the third Hokage thinks, and it is a terrible thought, the kind that keeps powerful men awake in the dark, maybe, wherever you are, Naruto Uzumaki, you are safer for being gone. He doesn't say it out loud, but he thinks it. And somewhere in the forest, a serpent moves silently through the underbrush, and in its wake, the rustling of leaves sounds almost like a lullaby.